Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 12th of April, 2023. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So 12th of April, that means it is Shapella Day. It is finally here. It may have already happened by the time you've watched or listened to today's refuel, but basically it's happening in about just under 12 hours from now from when I'm recording this. So an exciting day, obviously, for all of Ethereum. Now you can track it on the Beacon Chain website. Here's the Shapella hardfork visualizer. There's actually 10 hours and 47 minutes left to go at time of recording here, and this will show you as we get closer the visualization, or as the fork happens, and it'll run through and do all the justification and finalization visualizations here, like we always do every fork. And I'll link this in the YouTube description for you to check out as well. But yeah, I mean, what a momentous day for Ethereum. I think that, as I've said previously, this is the kind of final piece of the puzzle to get us to the 1.0 version of Ethereum proof of stake. Obviously, there are other things being added to proof of stake over the coming years, but this is really just a huge milestone and basically completes the merge, so to speak, because the merge was obviously done in September, but the move to proof of stake was part of that, and the merge was kind of like a term given to the move to proof of stake. So to me, I consider proof of stake to be complete once Shapella is, the Shapella upgrade is live on the network. So yeah, big day there. And there's a few live streams going on. There's going to be one hosted by some of the core developers and researchers. They're going to be doing a watching party in the Bordel hackerspace. You'll remember the Bordel hackerspace from the merge live streams that were done, and you can watch the stream and metrics from the different nodes. Join at around 8 to 9 p.m. Here, and there's a link here as well to the relevant blog post. And also relevant to staking withdrawals generally, I put out a tweet just before where I noticed on rated.network that Kraken has started withdrawing all of their staked ETH that is associated with their US retail customers, and they are doing this because of the SEC action brought against Kraken Ethereum staking product back in February, and it's going to be interesting to see where this ETH ends up. And I also added for clarity that obviously you can't withdraw yet because Shapella isn't live, but validators are currently able to exit, but the associated 32 ETH stake and consensus layer rewards are not able to be withdrawn until Shapella goes live in around 12 hours. What Kraken is doing right now is exiting their validators, obviously to get ahead of the queue, but also because they're legally obligated to do this. Now, this is something that I haven't mentioned since it happened, basically, but Kraken currently has 7.1% of all staked ETH market share. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how much of that actually belongs to US-based retail customers, because I do not believe that they have to withdraw people that are considered accredited investors or institutional stakers, I should say, accredited stakers. But I have to double check on that. But regardless, it's going to be interesting to see how many people are staking with Kraken that this applies to, because let's say Kraken's share of the network goes from 7.1% to 4%. Well, that means only 3.1% of their total stake was US-based, because, as I said, they are forced to do this withdrawal. They can't, I mean, they're legally required to do this. And so they've started doing that. And I also said it's going to be interesting to see where this ETH ends up. I think a lot of it, pretty much most of it, is not going to be sold or anything like that. I think people are just going to go stake somewhere else. Now, where that somewhere else is anyone's guess. I think that these people will probably, there'll be probably a healthy chunk of them that will go to other centralized exchanges, because if you're already staking with a centralized exchange, it's probably more likely than not that you're not interested in solo staking, right? Or maybe you don't have the required ETH to solo stake. Maybe Rocket Pool is a solution for you. Maybe you just want to buy RETH, or you want to spin up mini pools. It's a lot easier now to spin up mini pools, or post Atlas, I should say. It's going to be a lot easier to spin up mini pools because it's not a huge ETH requirement. It's 8 ETH and 2.4 ETH worth of RPL, so maybe you want to do that. But there are a lot more solutions now than there has previously been. There are some customers, I imagine, that have staked with Kraken for a very long time now, since maybe even Genesis, right? Maybe even Genesis of the Beacon chain back in December of 2020. So it's going to be interesting to see where that stake gets reshuffled to. And it is a forced reshuffling here because, as I said, like, the customers have no say in this. Kraken has to shut down this product, so they have to withdraw this and basically credit to the Kraken customers' accounts, and then the customers can take that ETH to whichever staking service they want to. So as I said, it's hard to tell the exact percentage because this only applies to US-based retail stakers, not institutional grade ones, and not non-US-based retail investors. So it's not going to be all 7.1% of that of Kraken's stake that's going to be unstaked here, but there will be probably a healthy chunk of it. And as I said, I don't expect most of it to be sold. I expect most of it to be restaked as part of other solutions, and we can actually track that because we can track the ETH being kind of withdrawn from Kraken. I mean, it's not going to be an exact science, but we can track ETH being withdrawn from Kraken and then going into different staking services and see, and roughly get like a rough estimate of the percentage of ETH that went from Kraken staking to somewhere else. But I figured that was worth bringing up because you're going to be seeing Kraken withdraw, and that's because, as I said, they are forced to do so here. And also just a reminder for the solo stakers out there, if you haven't updated your MEVboost software yet, you need to do so. You need to update MEVboost to version 1.5 by the time the Shapella fork goes live, or else if you are running MEVboost to produce your blocks, to outsource your block production, I should say, then you will miss blocks. You will miss proposing blocks if you're not updated to 1.5. So just a reminder out there for the solo stakers, if you are running Rocket Pool, this already, I believe, gets updated with the Rocket Pool Smart Node stack. And if you're staking with other services, it's on them to update their software. But as I said, if you are a solo staker, be sure to update your MEVboost software to version 1.5 before the hard fork goes live. All right, so moving on from the Ethereum staking or Shapella stuff, Terrence from the Off-Chain Labs team has put together a little document here all around single slot PBS using a tester committees. So he said here, motivated by recent MEV unbundling attacks, I have been researching more into variations of in-protocol PBS or proposer builder separation. I think this is the next big boss to tackle post EIP 4844. I took some notes on a single slot plus a tester committee approach. Feedback welcome. Now, this document, of course, I'll link in the YouTube description below, but I want to say something about PBS here to clarify something for people. So PBS stands for Proposer Builder Separation. We already have PBS on Ethereum. We just don't have what's called in-protocol PBS. Now, the PBS that we have is MEVboost, where essentially proposers and builders are already separated, right? If 90% of the people, the validators, I should say, are running MEVboost, are talking to MEVboost relays. That means that they are outsourcing their block production to the MEVboost network, right? So that is proposer builder separation already happening. Now, when we say in protocol PBS, we mean that it's literally done by the Ethereum protocol itself, and it's not being outsourced to this sidecar software known as MEVboost. Right? So, and the reason why PBS is desirable is because it eliminates the need for a lot of these kind of, I guess, band-aid solutions, such as having relays and such as concerns around censorship and things like that. That's why it is a better solution. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons which you can look up. You can just Google for them, but those are some of the major ones there. So you can read this document here from Terrence, who was basically taken Vitalik's post on single slot PBS using attesters as distributed availability oracle, and he's expanded on this. Now, it is quite technical. You're probably not going to understand most of it if you don't understand how the beacon chain works, but I think it's really great to see that core devs are already focusing on this sort of stuff because, and already saying that they want it to be, I guess, like the next big thing that gets integrated into the network after 4844. And I actually said this on, I believe it was a Bankless podcast recently. I believe it might have been the roll-up where I think David asked me what's the most exciting thing happening after, after Shapella or after maybe 4844 and what's happening next year. And I mentioned PBS and Verkle trees. I think PBS is more important than Verkle trees, but I think they're both pretty important. But the Verkle tree stuff can probably wait, and it's probably, look, it's hard to tell what's further along on at this point because PBS is still an open research thing. There are still a lot of considerations to work through, and Verkle trees is kind of the same thing, but they're both being actively developed, and they're both an active kind of target for core developers and researchers to get done, hopefully next year. Obviously, we already know most of what's going to be included in the upgrades for this year. We have Shapella going live very, very soon. And then we have Cancun going live, hopefully by the end of this year, which includes 4844. But after that, there is still, it's an open kind of question of what's going to get included, what ERPs are going to get included next year. So I'm glad to see that the core devs and researchers are already tackling this. And that's why I put out this tweet where I said, Ethereum core devs are shipping so fast these days. We're blessed because of this. Now, for those of you who've been around for a while, you will know traditionally how long it has taken to ship things in the Ethereum core development environment, and how we wanted to stick to a 6-month cadence of shipping hard forks, but it was very difficult to do that, especially in the past. And some of these hard forks didn't even include major upgrades in them. Some of them were just literally, I believe one of them was literally just a difficulty bomb delay, right? Where we essentially just delay the difficulty bomb because we needed the extra time in order to develop the next upgrades, in order to delay it as part of a bigger upgrade. But now we're shipping so fast that people actually didn't even realize that Shapella was today. I saw people tweeting out saying, wait, Shapella is today? What the hell? Since when did core devs ship this fast? I'm like, well, since the merge, basically, because as I said, when the merge happened, it's really a kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? I remember the term that I used, and I want to use the same term here, but it's really, I guess, like motivated the core developers and really given them a huge morale boost. That's the word I was looking for, to continue developing, to continue shipping, and to continue executing on Ethereum's long-term roadmap. And I really do think that momentum is going to continue for many years to come, especially because a lot of these core developers and researchers now have a very nice, steady stream of income as part of the teams that they work for, but also from initiatives like the Protocol Guild and from things like the OP retroactive public goods funding. They're getting paid for their work. So not only are they appreciated socially, which is always very important, but they appreciated financially as well. The community is giving them the financial reward and the financial upside that they deserve for building out the Ethereum protocol, which is traditionally something that we haven't seen for the longest time. We did see it in small part due to Gitcoin grants, which did give a healthy chunk of money to core developers, but nothing like what we're seeing with the Protocol Guild and things like the OP retroactive public goods funding. And of course, they're still getting funding through Gitcoin as well. So it's basically this whole kind of public funding. I guess what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm struggling on words tonight. It's this whole kind of public funding cohort on Ethereum that's coming together to give core devs the monetary incentives that they deserve and the monetary rewards that they deserve, as well as the social rewards that they've been getting for a few years now for executing on the Ethereum roadmap. So just wanted to put that sentiment out there, that it's really great to see that core devs are shipping so very fast these days. All right, so Arkek here on Twitter has introduced the ultimate layer 2 tracker on Dune Analytics. So you can now track all bridging volume at once and stay on top of the hottest layer 2 chains using this Dune Analytics dashboard. So I believe this dashboard is linked here, and there's a thread here from Arkek that you can read. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But this is just another dashboard to track L2s. Now, I've highlighted a bunch of them before. I believe I've highlighted a few from Hill Dobby before, but this is just another one to kind of bookmark and to kind of get used to and to kind of read through and keep track of if you want to track the growth of layer 2s on Ethereum here. Now you can see here there are things like weekly amount of ETH bridge to L2s, weekly USD bridge to L2s, weekly unique users bridging into L2s, and it's split between the different L2s as you can see here. And there's a bunch of other metrics as well, but I just want to focus on the weekly amount of ETH bridge to different L2s. So this goes all the way back to June 2020. Now, for a long time, we only had ZK Sync Lite that was live, and that was used in Gitcoin. Then Loopring went live. Then we had Optimism going live in the purple here, Arbitrum that went live in the blue, and to today, we can see that basically, the weekly amount of ETH bridge to L2s is definitely dependent on when things go live. You can see here that ZK Sync error dominated the last 3 weeks because they went live. But you can they went live around that time. But you can see what it's like in the normal state. So you can see here that, let's just pick a random week. This was 6th of February 2023. You can see the distribution here. So Arbitrum dominated here, and then it was Optimism, Loopring, Polygon ZK AVM, Loopring, Starknet, and all that good stuff there. So these kind of trends need to be looked at maybe at a longer time frame just to get a better picture here. But yeah, that's the weekly amount of ETH bridged into L2s. And there are other trends as well, such as the weekly unique users bridging into the L2s. There is L2 common users in using two bridges. So basically, it shows that a lot of users of these L2s are using other L2s as well, so they're not just using one, and then a bunch of other metrics. But anyway, I'll link this in the YouTube description for you to check out. I just felt it was worth highlighting that there are more than just a few L2 dashboards now. There are plenty of them, and keeping up to date with L2s is definitely something that I think is interesting to a lot of you. So yeah, go check out this dashboard. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so Scroll has put out a tweet thread that they started off by saying, "Our partnerships team has been busy working alongside projects for the mainnet launch, and we're excited to share 2 new updates. They've launched a new Twitter account called Build with Scroll, which you can go follow. That will be the home for all of the project and ecosystem activity, and they've also launched a new ecosystem page on their website." Now, we've seen a bunch of these ecosystem pages before. Pretty much all the L2s have them at this point, and so it's great to see that Scroll has got one as well, and to see which apps are actually going to be live on the Scroll network once it goes live on mainnet sometime this year, I believe. So all the popular ones that you're used to, like Aave, Gnosis Safe, Sushi, all these apps are on there for you to go check out, along with different wallets like Sol Wallet and stuff like that. But yeah, you can go check out the ecosystem page for yourself. I'll link that in the YouTube description, and you can also follow the Build with Scroll Twitter account for all updates on project and ecosystem activity within the Scroll ecosystem. All right, so Fire has launched the Fire card on Optimism. So they say here, "We're excited to move over to an amazing L2 and save our community money on costs. If you already have a card on Ethereum, you will be able to participate in the new mint on Optimism." So you can head to mint.joinfire.xyz to mint the new Fire card on Optimism. It's just a cheaper way of minting this NFT. Instead of having to mint it on mainnet, you can now mint it on Optimism. And of course, Fire is live on the Optimism network. They're also live, I believe, on Polygon and Arbitrum, as well as Ethereum mainnet. So great to see that. And I'm sure they're going to be deploying to every other network that they can, especially all the EVM networks as time goes on. So yeah, just wanted to highlight this for you guys. You can go check that out on Optimism now. All you have to do is head to this URL and make sure that you're on the Optimism network. All right, so a big update out of the Metropolis ecosystem today. So for those of you who don't know, Metropolis is basically trying to build DAO infrastructure tooling, essentially, and that's what they've launched today. They've launched something called the Podarchy Explorer. So you can check this out at pod.xyz and click through to Podarchy here, and I've already gone ahead and done that and selected my own Sassel.eth account to show you exactly what this is. Basically, it shows your relationships with different contracts on Ethereum. So specifically multisig contracts and how those contracts interact with other contracts on the Ethereum network. So you can see here that I'm on a bunch of different multisigs that interact with a bunch of different projects. So you can see that I'm on the Diversify multisig that interacts with the Diversify contracts here, and also interacts with other multisigs. And these are Gnosis Safe multisigs, of course. And there's a bunch of others here as well, such as this one here, which and you can move these around, of course. And then you can see their relationships and the permissions and the contracts and the different members, finances, and all that good stuff here. Look, you can see the assets here. These are the finances of Sassel.eth. So you can see my assets, with the breakdown of the different assets, my total token balances, and a bunch of other metrics there, which is very cool to see. Now, Jules's thread here does a great job of explaining exactly what this is and what the goals are of this tool and what they hope people to use it for. So you can go check out this thread for yourself. But I really like that this tool exists, because there are obviously a lot of multi-sigs that exist on Ethereum right now. A lot of them control a lot of the top apps that you and I use every day, whether they be DeFi apps or whether they be the layer 2s themselves. And you do want a way to visualize the relationships between individual signers and what multisigs that they're on and how it all interacts with each other and what powers those multisigs have over what they're actually securing here. So you can see here, Jules says the Podarchy Explorer indexes relationships between entities on chain, including smart contract permissions, multisig signership, and financial data. By indexing the most important on-chain data, Podarchy Explorer uncovers the real on-chain power structures. So basically breaking down the, I guess, monarchy of the of a lot of these projects, which I think that's where the name came from, basically here. But yeah, you should definitely go check out the list here. Sorry, that's the thread here from Jules. And I should disclose that I'm an angel investor in Metropolis, which is formerly known as Orca Protocol. You may have heard me talking about them in the past, but yeah, you can go explore this yourself as well. You can just punch in your own. You can just connect your own Ethereum wallet up here. It'll ask you to connect it once you check this out, and you can see your relationship with different contracts and multisigs on Ethereum here. Now, I believe that they're going to be supporting other networks in the future as well. And you can see here, actually, I just clicked into one of the multisigs. Actually, I want to click into one that I know. So this one here, Diversify. You can see that the proposal threshold is 5 of 9. So you can immediately see that 5 of 9 signers are required to enact any changes here. You have a link to Etherscan. You have a link to the safe itself. You can see the I believe the finances. Yeah, you can see the finances here, the permissions. So basically what they control. You can see the contract that they controls here, and the general information about that, and the contracts that have interacted with that, and the safes that are interacting with that. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot of information available to you. And as I said, you can actually move all this around and make it and pretty it up for yourself and move things out of the way if you need to focus in on other things. But yeah, it's very, very cool. Now, if I was to search up here, maybe I could search Vitalik.eth, and let's actually see if that comes up. Maybe Vitalik's address is more interesting than mine. Let's see if no, that doesn't. Oh no, it is. It's just taking a little bit to load here. Vitalik.eth. I think it's gone through to Vitalik.eth. If I pressed enter there, and hopefully it's going to load it up. Yeah, there we go. So you can see Vitalik's kind of Podarchy here is a lot. There's a lot more going on, and I don't know if it's lagging right now because there's so much going on. There we go. Yeah, okay. So it's loaded it up. Yeah, Vitalik's got a lot more going on. He's got a much cooler profile picture associated with his ENS than I do. But you can basically see all his interactions as well and what he is. A multi-sig signer for as well. But yeah, you can check out anyone. It's not just your own that you can connect your wallet to check out. You can basically check out any Ethereum based user and contract, which I think is a very cool set of features here. But anyway, I'll link Jules' thread in the YouTube description below, and you can go check that out for yourself. All right, last up here, before I talk about one other thing that I've left a bit of time for here, is that I'm doing a live stream, which has already happened by the time the refill goes out, but I'm doing this with Justin Drake here, and I believe Tim Byko is going to be on it, with obviously Bankless, David and Ryan from Bankless here, and we're going to be talking all about ETH staking withdrawals and Shapella. Highly recommend you guys go watch this. Obviously, you probably won't be watching it live because, as I said, the refill will be out by the time this is over, but you can go watch it and watch the replay. I have seen the agenda. There is a lot of really great questions that are going to be asked, and who better to have on than Tim Byko and Justin Drake. I feel inadequate in the presence of those two. I feel like I'm just going to be sitting back and being like, yeah, and just absorbing all the knowledge from these gigabrains, because they are two of the smartest and most active people in the Ethereum core development and research ecosystem. So we are definitely very lucky to have them on this stream here. But yeah, you can check out this. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But yeah, as I said, I have a few minutes left here that I wanted to talk about one main thing that may branch into a few other things, but I do have around 7 minutes left. So first thing about, I guess, like staking withdrawals and Shapella. I talk a lot about how it's the 1.0 delivery of Ethereum Proof of Stake. It basically means that Ethereum Proof of Stake is pretty much complete. I do believe that, but at the same time, there are a lot of debates and arguments happening within, I guess, like closed and open circles right now about if Ethereum Proof of Stake is actually, should it be considered complete with withdrawals? Because as Ethereum Proof of Stake exists today, there are still certain aspects of it that can be improved and that need to be improved for certain edge cases that can happen. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, there are research reports on this, and I highlighted this quite a while ago on the Refuel, But basically, there are better ways to do the fork choice rule on proof of stake Ethereum, for example. And there is research out there proving that there are better ways to do this. Now, are those ways something that is going to that is critical, that is needed right now? No, it's not. What they do and what these new ways of doing the fork choice rule does for Ethereum is it basically hardens proof of stake even further than what it is right now. And that's why I said that it affects the edge cases. It affects like basically the worst case scenario where something happens on the network that is really hard for it to happen, but if it were to happen, could compromise the security of the network. Now, what those things are detailed in the research reports themselves. I don't have them handy, but this is just an example of why people are saying that even though we're delivering withdrawals, it looks like Ethereum proof of stake is at the 1.0 version. It doesn't mean that it is, I guess, complete. We're like 99% there, but there are certain upgrades that people want to do in order to get us to 100% of the way there. And it's not just the upgrade to the fork choice rule, it's also things like single slot finality, and making it so that the network doesn't know who's going to propose blocks ahead of time to prevent DOS attacks and to give more privacy to validators. Those things would be in the nice to have bucket, I think. Single slot finality, I think, is becoming critical, and it's not nice to have. I think it's a must have. But yeah, I would like to see those things in place, and I think that if we set the tone of Ethereum proof of stake is complete, we risk maybe resting on our laurels a little bit around this. So yeah, for me personally, I consider that we're completing, I guess, like the first phase of Ethereum proof of stake, so to speak, where there's multiple other phases to come. But as I said, it's not like something that's absolutely critical or absolutely something that's needed right now. It's needed to harden the protocol, but we've got time to add those things to the protocol. And as I said, there are an active research phase right now, and I believe some of them will definitely come to the network. I believe single slot finality is something that will definitely come to the network. I'm not sure about the change in the fork choice rule. That might happen, but we'll have to see, right? We'll have to see if people want to do that, if it's accepted, if the majority of the people come to consensus on it, if it gets built out, if the research is done in a way that allows us to do it without compromising another factors of the Ethereum network. But yeah, I think it's worth mentioning all of that there. Now, falling off of that, I think, is the rest of the upgrades that we have coming to Ethereum. The Ethereum roadmap is really long. There is still at least until the end of the decade worth of upgrades to go, if not longer than that. In terms of critical upgrades, or in terms of things that developers and core developers and researchers want to see put into the network, those are still going to take another few years, because we've only got the first version of dank sharding, which is 4844 going live this year. A lot of people ideally want to see full dank sharding on the network, which is probably still 2 to 3 years away. We want to see things like PBS. We want to see vertical trees. We want to see single slot finality. So all of these upgrades, a lot of them are not nice to haves. They are, and I don't know if that you can consider them must-haves, but they are things that are considerable upgrades to the Ethereum network that a lot of people consider to be must-haves. And as long as that is the consensus and that is the social contract around these upgrades, they are going to happen. And there are certain ones that are on the roadmap today that probably won't happen. And there are certain ones that are on there that aren't in the nice-to-have bucket. They are in the must-have bucket that probably won't happen because there just won't be broad consensus on it being a must-have. And that's okay. That's how the Ethereum ecosystem develops. That's how the Ethereum network develops. And I think that's all totally fine. But that definitely falls off of what I was talking about, how there is a difference and difference in consensus around nice-to-haves and must-haves and critical haves. And if we don't do this, the Ethereum network is going to break kind of thing, right? So there are different levels here. So the Ethereum roadmap that you guys have seen, Vitalik's flowchart, which I've showcased a bunch of times, and I'm sure you guys have seen it a bunch of times on Twitter, that there, don't take that as like Bible. Don't look at that and be like, every single item on this list is going to get delivered. That's not going to be the case. It's just not the way things are going to pan out, and things are going to change as well. There's going to be things that change in scope, their names are going to change, that what they do is going to change, and that's totally okay. But yeah, I just figured that was worth having a bit of a discussion about on the eve, I guess, for me, of Shapella. But yeah, anyway, I think that's going to be it for today's episode. So good luck with Shapella, everyone. I mean, I think it's going to go fine. I'm not going to be awake for the live stream, but there is going to be a live stream, as I mentioned yesterday. You can find links to that in the YouTube description from yesterday. But my next refuel will be in a post-ETH staking withdrawals world. So yeah, looking forward to that. But anyway, give that video a thumbs up if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.